I know a lot of people often say to me, that you really do enjoy working and talking about the royalty, but it is fascinating. It's our historical history, it's living history. I was talking to a colleague recently and they said, well, what is it like there? Because obviously you see royalty every single day. Well, you do and you don't, but what you have are free events like the changing of the guard. And you think about that and the historical context attached to that and think, well, it's been going on hundreds of years. The piper played outside the monarch's bedroom every day. A lot of people would think, ooh, but of course it's tradition, isn't it? And how moving was that piper playing at the funeral of our late and beautiful monarch, Queen Elizabeth II? But of course, with the coronation looming, a lot of people want to know about other royals, not just, of course, the ones making the headline news. Now, as a lot of people also know, one of my favourite members of the British monarchy is none other than the very hard-working Princess Royal, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne. Now, if you recall, she did a sterling work at her late mother's funeral. I mean, really, if anybody showed exactly stoicism and how to behave in such a very difficult time, then it was definitely Princess Anne, wasn't it? You couldn't be moved, of course, or couldn't, should I say, could not be moved by the tears shed by Prince Edward at Westminster Abbey. He was overcome with emotion, as one can imagine. It must have been very hard. The world stage is looking at you, and there you are, having to be brave in front of everything. No tears from Princess Anne, though. She knew what was known from her and what was required from her, and she did it incredibly well. Since then, it's hard to believe she's racked up even more big engagements. But according to a very good source, it looks like Princess Anne, alongside Prince Edward and Sophie Wessex, will be getting some bigger roles in this forthcoming coronation, and rightly so. This is because they rate incredibly well, not just with the British public, but around the world, across the Commonwealth. And when you think about it and you think of royalty, we have all the fun things, don't we? The gossipy things, the glossy magazines, even dating right back to the late and beautiful Princess Diana. But it's the things that matter, the constitution, the historical areas that really people look towards. As we told you in a recent video, right now, His Majesty the King, King Charles, is probably trotting up and down Clarence House, trying to work out if he can balance that very heavy King Edward crown upon his head. It's a serious matter, whichever way you look at it. A lot of people don't realise that the coronation is part of history, will be reviewed in, many years' time as we now look at other major royal events. But why is Princess Anne often overlooked? Well, as you know, up until a few years ago, simply because she was the daughter, it wasn't necessarily in line. There was no successional line for her. But now things have changed. She's proven herself to be an incredibly hard worker, but more importantly, incredibly popular with the public. And the roles that they're going to be given, which will be announced in forthcoming few days' time, I just wanted to share with you so you have heads up, because a lot of people say to me, Neil, why do other members of the British monarchy not get featured as much? They do, but obviously, as I've said to you before, they're not all looking for the glare of the spotlight, as so many are. And I'm sure, like me, you want to wish the Princess Royal, Her Royal Highness Princess Anne, alongside Prince Edward and Sophie Wessex, and everybody who's going to be associated with such an historical day, simply all the very best.